Oh, yeah, you are. Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this non-live webcast on a Wednesday for the YouTube and the Facebook videos and the Instagram videos and the Reels and whatever. We were supposed to be live tonight, but due to technical faults, which we blame on Facebook and Zoom, we are recording this. And Al, yeah, we're blaming Al actually. Sorry, you pointed to yourself. I'm going to blame you. We were supposed to be live tonight, but so we decided just to record anyway. So we're going to put this on YouTube, and then we're going to put links onto it everywhere else, and it'll be out as a podcast on Saturday as well. Hopefully, will it? Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, you'll do that as well.
I will do that. I'll
Because
make sure
Al's
that
got
happens.
nothing else to do. Nothing else to do. Anyway, for
Oh,
in case you are listening to the audio, I'm Scott Casson-Rennie, and he is Al Coates. And
hello.
tonight we are joined by Lisa Etherson and Vicki McKeown, both friends of the show.
Yeah.
Safe to say. Yeah. Welcome both.
Thank you.
There you go, Al. There's my introduction. Ta-da.
Oh, well done. Well, Vicky and Lisa, probably best you give an introduction to who you are, because I could sort of mangle a version of Vicky's someone I knew, and she's like a therapist and that. But how about you give your
And that.
and that, and she's a social
Vicky,
worker and that.
Vicky was like one of the main speakers on our last
Conference.
conference that we did online during COVID.
Yeah.
Amazing times, amazing times.
The
So
Vicky
you
John
should know who I am, Al.
He
Yeah.
should.
You should
If he
know
was
who I am
listening.
and what I do.
I think you should be
Yeah,
our
if it was-
resident therapist for us.
From me, you mean? Anyway.
Yeah. So, go on, tell us who you are, Vicky.
So my name is Vicki McKeown. I am a qualified social worker, therapist, supervisor, trainer, anything and everything, basically. And I used to work in a building with the lovely Lisa.
Well, I was just going to say as well, you can now say that you are now author as well
Yes.
on that
Oh,
list
yeah.
of things that you
Nice.
just given there.
Yeah.
Mm,
Exciting.
Nice. Excellent. And so, Lisa, who are you? You have been on the show on a couple of occasions, and to varying degrees of chaos that you've caused between me and Scott. Not you, it's just us.
No, embarrassment. It was embarrassment that she caused for
It was
Al, not for me.
embarrassment.
I loved
was
it. I loved it.
Hilarious. I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Tales of my embarrassment have been much exaggerated. So who the hell are you,
I don't
Lisa?
think they have, but whatever.
So, yeah, I'm Lisa Etherson. I'm a psychosexual therapist, and I'm a 50
See, he's blushing again. Blushing again.
So weird.
I'm a grown man.
Yeah, I'm coming to the end of my PhD, which is in shame and compulsive sexual behaviour in adult men. And because of that, I've created a theory of shame called shame containment theory. Colleague of Vicky's, which might seem a bit odd that Vicky works with children and I work with adults in a very specific way. But yeah, I suppose that we're trying to prevent Vicky's clients from becoming my clients, which would be good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see
Suppose
what,
that's one way to look at it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So, long story short is you've written a book. So, do you want to tell us about the book? Because, well, maybe tell us why you've written a book. That's probably the best start point. So, I'll let you two fight about amongst yourselves, or who's going to talk.
I think it needs to be Vicky because she was the real main. She nagged me basically for several months
Oh.
to do this book, and thank goodness she did.
I learned that skill from Al. If you ask someone enough, they eventually give in.
And just to
Back to
interrupt
shame.
there, we are actually Live on Facebook on Al Coates' page.
Oh,
It is
My
going out.
personal page.
I don't know if it's your personal one or what, but
Well, that's
We
weird.
are-
I don't know how we're live now, but
it's
anyway.
definitely live because it's now got the little words at the bottom, and we've just said the words. So just so you know.
Let me double check that, because that might be my personal. If that's my personal one, that's the World of the Strange. No, yeah, that's my personal. All my mother will be watching this now, so there'll be no one will be able to see it. That is hilarious. Actually, I can send to. You keep talking, and I'll fiddle on with some things.
Yeah. Sorry. So he said, why? Go on. Why?
So
Why?
how the book came about is, like Lisa said, we were based in an office together, and over lunch we'd catch up and have conversations, and I'd be hearing all the great work that Lisa was doing with her adult clients around shame, and her humongous whiteboard and her brainstorming what came to be shame containment theory. And for me, I was absolutely blown away by it and thinking this is so relevant to children. And obviously, doing the work I do with children and families, see shame in the therapy room all of the time. But it's such an icky topic to talk about. So we wanted to create something that sort of adapted Lisa's shame containment theory into a child friendly, accessible form to really start those conversations. And it's taken us about a year, and Al saw our first draft, which was on reflection, utter
Yeah, this is
crap.
why I'm going to be very embarrassed now thinking about what we sent over.
Did he tell you that? Did he say that's utter
Yes.
crap?
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
Yeah.
did he?
I didn't. I did not.
I just didn't use that word, but you basically said back to the drawing board.
I did not say that. I did not say that. I can't remember
No,
what I
but the
said, but
tones were there. Right, reading between the lines, that's what you said,
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's useful. We went back and did it again, or made sure that it actually made sense, because we want it to make sense, because I think it's such an uncomfortable topic that if people don't get it, they're just going to put it down, ignore it. And we know that for so many parents, teachers, social workers, etc., they've got their own experience of shame from their childhood that they bring into that. So when their child or little person makes mistakes or starts to get something wrong, they want to jump in and swoop in to stop them experiencing that. But as Lisa is probably going to tell us, shame is a healthy, normal emotion to have, and it's about how it's then recognized and managed rather than avoiding it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, no, Lisa? I'm like,
Yeah. No, I would absolutely. Well, obviously, I would agree with that, because yes, that's my theory.
Lisa's just waiting on an opportunity to swear. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for, really.
No,
But it's just, as Vicky was saying, it's taken us about a year, probably a wee bit over, really, because it's been such a hard thing to do. And hats off to anyone who's written a children's book, especially when it comes to something like shame, because it's really complex and complicated, and wanting to make it accessible. And also there's something about trying to help. So the premise of the book really is to help parents to help children, or to help adults to help children to understand shame. So it's not really a children's book, perhaps, where they can just go and pick it up and read it on their own. You know, there needs to have that adult there to kind of do some of the exploring and asking questions, and it's to help the parents understand, or like I said, the adults understand what's going on for the little for the young people. And that itself, so trying to get that balance between trying to do something for parents and trying to do something for children, it's been much harder than I think we envisaged, but I'm hoping that we got the balance right. Fingers crossed.
fingers crossed.
Yeah. And I mean, writing books isn't popular after, sorry, is popular was the wrong word. It's quite common that, people like you guys who've been at the coalface dealing with these things have all these experiences and stuff and write books. I mean, did you contact other people who'd done the same thing first, or is that why Al sent it back and said it was a load of crap?
I think that's the reason why we did that. Yeah, I mean, we took lots of inspiration from other people's books, and but kind of wanted to put our own stamp on it as well. I think if that's fair to say, isn't it, Vicky? That we wanted it to, to be ours and bring our experience into what we thought would be useful. And there's no way that I would have been able to write it without Vicky and having that perspective of what happens for young people and for children.
Yeah.
I was going to say dumbing it down, and I don't mean we dumbed it down, but it is making it accessible, isn't it? Rather than the big complicated words that people use when they're writing research, it's making it accessible and understandable for those that will hopefully be reading it.
Yeah.
Just so you know, it does say live on Facebook, but basically my mother's watching. So I'm slightly concerned about that, but that's something for me to deal with on a personal, interpersonal, familiar level. And I'm kind of intrigued by this idea of taking something really, really, actually quite painful. Because do a little work. It comes up in some of the work I do. I would never declare myself an expert, but the joke I use is, oh, now we're going to talk about shame, but no one wants to. And like if we were doing something in a room full of people and we said, oh, remember the time, tell someone next to you the time when you were embarrassed, and we'd go, that time when I had too odd socks on or whatever. That's, terrible. But people are not going to talk about shame. It is palpably raw 30 years on. Where do you even start to kind of make stuff that is so visceral and raw into something that you can talk to a 6-year-old about?
Well, I think for me, it's really important, and I know this is very unpopular, but I'll die on this hill, that we need to name shame. We need to actually be talking about shame. So there's lots of conversations that I've had where, I'm trying to get my research out there and what have you, and people have said to me, this is brilliant, but you can't use the word shame. But that's the problem, because we're not talking about shame. We're talking about all sorts of other things that are actually implicated in shame, but we're not actually using that language because it can be too painful. So one of the things that we did with the book is to explain. The book's basically psychoeducation. We're explaining why we have shame, that we have shame from this protective perspective, that it's a human emotion, we are supposed to have it. It actually is helpful, even though it feels horrendous when we're in a state of uncontained shame. It's the worst thing that we want to do, and we want to avoid that feeling. So one of the things that comes up in Jake's book is the behaviours that he's doing to avoid that feeling that nobody wants to have.
Yeah.
So just being able to explain so the whole process of shame, and the language of shame containment theory isn't necessarily in the book because that would be too complicated. But there's a guidebook coming that Vicki and I are working on, that we were hoping to have ready at the same time as the children's book. But life just gets in the way, doesn't it? And half my legs
try and do
away.
2 things at once like that. I mean,
Well,
that's never going to.
indeed.
Yeah.
So the shame containment theory language is in the guidebook so that parents can understand it. They're not necessarily going to use that language with their young people. But I think it's just the process for me really is about explaining why we have it. And once people understand it and they can give themselves permission to have it, it changes your relationship with shame completely. And this is what we're aiming for, is to be able to get people to change their relationship with shame. And, I had a little bit of a look to see if there's any other books there on shame for children, excuse me, storybooks. And there are not many. I think I could find about 3. And they're talking about how to get rid of shame, how to stop shame. And we're trying to do something a little bit different by saying, actually, we need to use shame. So one of the things that happens in the book is Jake gets to understand that he has a shame alarm. And this alarm goes off and tells him that he's not safe, or that he doesn't feel safe, that there's something happening that's not okay for him. So we start to use shame in a completely different way. We don't get rid of it. We can't get rid of it. Shame for me is about part of our attachment system. So we can't get rid of something that's really, really important, that actually keeps us safe and alive and connected and, attached to caregivers and what have you. It makes no sense to try and cure it or meditate it away or whatever it is. And avoid it. Absolutely. We might want to avoid, the whole thing, it helps us to avoid things that are going to get us into trouble, because shame is about being pro-social.
So I'm right. So this is maybe we're off the beaten track by the book, right? And I've hidden it on Facebook, so I feel much safer now. My mother's not going to give me a stern telling to. You were talking to a woman about sex on the internet, and I was like, no, mother.
Again.
Then you want to see some shame. I'll be a walking ball of shame. No, I was just thinking that we also, in terms of training parents, if we were doing sort of therapeutic parenting, we would be looking to avoid shaming children. So absolutely. Is the flip side to you saying, well, we shouldn't really we should kind of front up to it. Is it fair to say that, should parents be avoiding shaming their children? That's the question.
Well, that's a really big question, actually, because there's some theorists who think that shame is part of children understanding how to be pro-social, so that we should shame children. But when we shame children, what we cause is an attachment injury. Or, well, that's what I call them, an attachment injury. Other people might call them ruptures or whatever. And it just goes back to the stuff that we all know about, is that you have to make the repair.
Right.
So if you do something, and there's a difference between humiliating a child and using shame as that way of actually helping them to function in society. But whenever there's a rupture, that repair always has to be made. So what that does is that helps the shame to do its job, but shift. It doesn't get stuck. It doesn't get stuck in what I call contained shame, which is then becomes our identity, who we think we are, that we're bad or that we're wrong or that we're not good enough or that we are too much.
Well,
I think
hopefully
we
my
all
mum.
feel a level of shame, don't we? So we can't avoid it. And I get what you're saying, Alan. Absolutely, in therapeutic parenting, we don't want to shame children, but that's how they, like Lisa's saying, how they learn to adjust and adapt their behaviour. And I think, especially for therapeutic parenting, what we try to move away from is reshaming, don't we? Where situations get brought back up again, or we revisit that one time that happened and whatever.
Mhm.
I think from my experience, it's the adults, it's the parents that really struggle with shame and that emotion. And actually, before this book was even created, when I was doing it in therapy with children and families, children really got it, especially when you introduce that concept of the shield of shame. And obviously in the book, Jake puts on his armor. Children really get it, and it helps them understand their behaviors and their responses to it. And it gives them that language. But I think it's the adults and the parents that are the ones, again, because of their own childhood experiences with it, that find it a bit icky and don't want to engage with it.
Yeah. Scott, I've asked lots of questions. I'm going back to you.
No, because you've gone really technical, so I kind of switched off. I was scrolling TikTok there. No, I'm joking. I wasn't.
Probably
Well,
was.
I guess it was making me think there, because obviously our children's experience of that kind of stuff is very different to potentially
Yeah.
mine. Because I'm sitting here, I'm genuine about this. I'm sitting here thinking about, what does shame feel like for me, and I'm not really sure I can say. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure I can tell you what emotion it is, because I'm trying to think of a time where I felt shame or ashamed, or and yes, I probably have, and I know I have, but
Mhm.
in terms of the feeling, I'm not sure I could explain it even now. Do you know? I think, as a 25-year-old man that I am, I think, I've had enough experiences in life to know that I have gone through that, but I actually wouldn't be able to tell you what that feels
Mhm.
like. I mean, would that be normal if you're fine with things? Or, oh, Lisa's shaking her head. Phew, I was beginning to think I was
Yeah, no,
gonna
I think it is normal, but I
get
think part
weird.
of the reason why it's normal is because it's not in our general vocabulary, it's not in our general conversations, and people are more likely to identify with guilt than they are with shame. But the
Hmm.
reality is that we probably felt shame, not guilt.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm thinking back to when I was like in my teens, and I knew I was gay, and how that made me feel, and probably that there was a lot of shame attached to that, I would imagine. Whereas now I'm like, I was going to swear there, but I better not, just in case. I'm like, F you all, I'm gay, and it's you guys that have got the issue with it, not me. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of
Mhm.
twisted it around a little bit, but I'm sure that was there. And Al tries to shame me all the time, but I just kick him, and that's fine. So, but it's just like that feeling. I'm just not sure if I've felt that recently or not.
you
And I'm
may
sure it
not have
feels
felt it
different, right?
recently, but I think also one of the reasons why we don't feel it all that much is because we develop, again, if I think about my theory, we develop things called shame containment strategies. And they're the
Right.
things that kind of keep us intact and contained, and that we don't sort of like disintegrate by doing stupid things that are going to instigate shame.
Mm.
And I think as we get older, we get more skilled at doing that as well. And we've got some shame containment strategies that we all need, like politeness. About the fact that it didn't go live today. So you went on Facebook and apologized and said, we've got technical difficulties. They're all things about trying to manage our shame and keep us in that pro-social
Mm.
space, so people still like us and people come back next week and tune in again. So
Or not.
or not just so they're all things that we actually need to do. We need to manage our shame. And I think we do get more skilled as we become older.
Yeah.
Well, it depends, because my clients do all sorts of weird and wonderful things to manage their shame, as I'm sure you can imagine. But
Yeah, I can imagine.
there's our things that would shame us as children wouldn't necessarily shame us as adults
Mm.
as well. And if you think about, the teenage, Vicky, tell me if I've got this wrong, and I'll, like, there's an idea, certainly in shame theory, that there's a spike in self-consciousness around puberty where we get very embarrassed and very ashamed of
Yeah.
our parents and all of those kind of things and don't want to have anything to do with them. That's just normal part of childhood development that we wouldn't have an issue with by the time we get into our 20s and 30s. Those things just wouldn't bother us at all.
Mm.
It's very dynamic in it, and it changes. It also changes throughout history. Shame has changed. So what is shameful for a young person now may not necessarily be of any of our experiences because we're older. Like what happens on social media and
Yeah.
not doing the right thing and not posting every day, or whatever it is that young people are doing. There's this history of shame which changes, which I think it's kind of struggle to catch up with or keep up with.
Yeah, and I mean, my final question for this this part of what I'm allowed to ask is, do you think that because parenting's changed as well, and also parenting children who've been through so much, do you think that our own shame is maybe kind of blocked in a way, in some ways? I don't know if that's the right word, but just like have we got like a bit of a barrier up towards it because we're parenting differently to our peers, and we know that children are going through this, so therefore our own values of things like that have changed as well.
I think absolutely in terms of the adoption and fostering arena, I think because parents are having to and need to parent differently, there is a level of shame that they experience when grandparents or friends and family are like, oh, I wouldn't do it like that, or I wouldn't manage the behaviour like that. And the level of shame, as Al and I were speaking about the other day, that when things start to become really complicated and difficult, especially in those teenagers, the shame that parents feel having to go to services and ask for help, especially if they get a really shame-inducing response. It's just a cycle, isn't it? And again, that's because of many different things, isn't it, in terms of stretched systems and things. But I think it's almost contagious, isn't it, sometimes, because the children experience shame, the parents experience shame, the system, the social, everybody within it. And unless we own it and acknowledge it for what it is, it just keeps still having that ripple effect.
Well, that makes perfect sense. And like Lisa said, this idea, and Lisa, you were saying this idea that we just front it up and we acknowledge what it is. And I can remember vividly being mortified by my child's behavior in a supermarket again. But then one day, like a switch flicking, going, no, this isn't. This actually, this feeling is not legitimate. And I sort of remember coming up with a really clear narrative in my head why actually people can feel what they want because. But I'm not going to come under that. So it was I could see that it was driving my behavior to me to, what my child needed for me to resolve that in that environment was one thing, but I would be driven by the needs of the other people who would be going, people tutting because, my child's having a fit because they can't have Peppa Pig ham or something. So that's fascinating. So back to the book, because that's why you're here, really. Yeah, no, it took you a while. I know it's a joke, I say it, and some people get it and some people don't get it. It's deeply inappropriate. For all the parents out there. But you can get like Thomas the Tank Ham. Honestly, you can get all kinds of things.
Yeah, but that's a double thing with Peppa Pig ham, isn't it? Let's be honest.
I know it's a joke. It's funny.
I know, but no, it's not funny. It's not funny. Poor Peppa.
Oh, Peppa. But tell me, right, so where can people find the book? Because I think the people will be really interested because I think it's such a huge part of so many people's lives. Where can they get the book? How much does it cost? And will you sign their copy if they come and seek you out? No, you'll shame them. Get away.
It's available on Amazon. So if you just type in Jake and his Shame Armour, because that's the title of the book, it is $12.99, and the guidebook, the accompanying guidebook, should be available. We're hoping in September, which is very exciting. I'm really excited about that. going out. I think that's going to be really helpful for people. And yeah, just apologies for anyone who's bought it so far. There has been quite a few sold already, which we're delighted at. So thank you everybody who's bought it so far. But yeah, just sorry that the guidebook hasn't been available at the same time because, as I said, life just does get in the way.
Don't feel shame
And
for
it's
that.
also available on, there's also a Kindle version as well.
There is that, yeah, right.
Ooh.
There
Yeah.
is a Kindle version. There is
And
an ebook
if you
version.
go on Amazon and type in Jake, you come up you're the top thing on there.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good.
Because I just did it. Oh, I don't know if you can see that.
oh, how
Yeah, there it
exciting.
is.
That
Yeah.
is exciting.
Yeah.
Damn you,
I'm just
good
going to
Oh,
see
and
if
I
you can
just
get it.
wanted just a very, very quick mention as well to Nikki, our illustrator, who was absolutely fabulous. Yeah, just we need to
Very patient.
very,
Yeah.
very patient.
Yeah.
Did you send that version to Al as well?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I feel really bad. I mean, I was busy. Honestly, it's
No, it
difficult
was
because
great because it was exactly what we needed. If we had to put out what we had originally written,
We would never work again.
no, we wouldn't. No.
Oh, dear.
No, we really appreciate the subtle honesty of that feedback.
But I
And
think
just in
it's
case there's anybody, I was just going to say, in case there's anybody listening in other countries, it's available on all Amazons as well. So Amazon.ie, it's available.
Oh.
It's €15.16. And yeah, the other ones as well. So just
Well, it is
check
international,
those.
so yeah, there's been books
Well,
sold
there
in
you
the
go.
US and
Yeah.
Australia.
There you go. See? Fabulous. Oh, worldwide.
Absolutely.
Global.
That is excellent. That is excellent. No, I think it's a really busy space and there's a real development of, but it's quite a small pool, isn't it, in terms of people who would maybe want this. So I think and that's why I think my feedback sort of reflects that. I thought it needs to be good. And it is good. It's really, really good. And I remember sort of thinking, oh, crikey. And we get this all the time because people send us books and you kind of go, oh, I hope it's good. We had one last week, didn't we, Scott? When you come and you go, oh, I hope it's good. But we only get the people on who write good books. So, you guys
that's
are great.
Thank you.
I'm not sure I believe that, Al. I think it's because you want things from us further down the line.
Well, it's also he wants free books for his bookcase as well. That's what it is, honestly. Yeah, exactly. And Vicky, the next time you write a book, never give me a note by saying, Scott, if you want to read this, then you can. Because you gave me a note by saying, Scott, don't bother reading it. That's what you might as well have
That's how
said.
we read it.
Because you know me and my reading skills. I'm terrible. But if I'd known it was going to be illustrated, I probably would have done it.
It's only 27 pages.
Yeah, exactly. I could have flown through that in 2 days.
Yeah. You could have got Jacob to read it to you. It's his son.
I might go for the Kindle version.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm aware Vicky's on holiday and probably about to go out. She'll be dancing all night to the sounds of disco beats or heavy metal music. She'll be living large, whatever she's up to, wherever she is. I don't know. She's the young people.
What are you doing after this, Vicky?
Just going for
Rub it
dinner.
in.
Just going for dinner and sitting in the evening sun. Probably getting bitten to death.
Oh, well. Okay. That's all right. We feel better now.
So you're there with the family, are you? And on that note, I'm going to say goodbye. And so thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to press stop. Who knows? I mean, we might just be on Facebook forever now in perpetuity. I'm going to stop on flipping Facebook. I have
like the
no
Truman
idea what's
Show.
Yeah.
Just see ourselves living our lives on Facebook.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense to some of my kids. But
we're not on Facebook anymore.
Yeah. Well, stay well, y'all.